one of the great test innings from Rishabh Pant, and that is a line we've used multiple times in a test career that isn't even 4 years old. It sets this test match up after we thought England would run away with it at one stage. 98 for 5. Following that came a wonderful game-changing, momentum-changing partnership between Rishabh Pant and Ravindra Jadeja. 222 is what they've got in 239 balls, and it has resulted in India finishing day one at 338 for 7. We look back at that day with Ashley Giles and Wasim Jaffer on ESPN Cricket for Match Day. What a day of Test cricket, gentlemen, and that final session and the damage that Rishabh Pant has done. Ashley, where do you see this Test match stand at Stumps?
Extraordinary. That's all I can say. At tea time we were talking about, well, what if India lose a couple of quick wickets? They may only get just over 200. But I think what impressed me the most here was the composure and the calmness and the maturity. I think PANT played with, but also Jadeja. He very much played second fiddle, but was happy to play second fiddle. And the innings of PANT, I think, just speaks for itself. An extraordinary innings that has turned the day in India's favour.
What do we say about an innings like this, Wasim, where we've seen 3 or 4 innings that are worthy of being called some of the great test innings played by Indian batters overseas? Like I said, in the first 4 years of Pant's career, I mean, what does this take him to another level as far as India's test batters are concerned?
Yeah, I think so. I think in last, like you said, in last 4 years, he's got 4 or 5 overseas hundreds, series defining hundreds, that 89 at Gabba as well. So, he's played some outstanding knocks. I mean, today, 98 for 5, like Ashley said, couple of wickets there, and India could have folded for 180, 200. But, Rishabh Pant, you got to give it to him. In Test cricket, he's played some outstanding knocks in such a short career. Really, really impressive. I mean, he comes in and, takes the things head on and just changes the complexion of the game. So you got to give it to him and to the Indian management as well. They've given him that freedom and he's repaid that faith, big way.
We often say this, that if Pant has a successful Test career, he could very well replicate the impact that Gilchrist did for a player that played against Gilchrist. Ashley, is this the closest someone has come to having that sort of impact in one innings, where you've got the top order struggling and you've effectively single-handedly changed the course of the game? Even if you've been dismissed, you've put your team in an advantageous position?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, he's hugely destructive, and he can obviously play all around the pitch against spin, particularly. He can take spinners apart, but and at times, I say this because he hasn't today, he can look agricultural. But for today, it was probably a couple of there was a little moment against Jimmy Anderson where he played a couple of massive shots, and then he sort of put that away and just played in. Said before, this calm and composed way, picked his spot really well, hit the ball so cleanly, when most other people on this day have struggled to really get that rhythm. So yeah, certainly my respect has risen a lot for that young man in this innings.
Is this the finer of the innings that we can say? I mean, it's hard to top Gabba, Wasim, if you're watching Indian cricket last few years, given what was at stake. But where would you rank this particular innings from all the fine innings we've seen from Rishabh Pant in his career already?
I think if India, Raunak, if India goes on to win this Test match and the series, this will, stand, on top of everything. I think that Gabba is very hard to, put anything in front of that Gabba innings. India winning in Gabba, last inning of that series, and then he playing that, match-winning knock, chasing something so big. But I think if India went on to win this Test match, you got to put it, right in the same bracket as Gabba, I would say.
Yeah, Ashley, you rightly point out that period of play against James Anderson. You just got the feeling if Pant was losing it a bit when he tried to slop sweep him and reverse slap him and whatnot. But is that sort of audacity also unnerving? Does it unsettle Jimmy Anderson and the rest of England's bowlers?
I think it unsettles both sides. I think even if Pant's in your team, it's going to unsettle you when you're watching. And I think you have to accept, if you're Rahul Dravid at times, it's going to look ugly, and he's going to get out in a manner which you're going to look back on and go, oh, that wasn't very good. But we can always say that's just the way you play. But I think you've got to let this guy loose, give him that freedom to express himself, because he can, as he's shown today, really hurt people when he gets it right.
Now at Stumps, Ashley, do we look back and say, did England lose it a bit? There was a serious ragged period of play, overthrows, extras, and whatnot. And it's not the first time we're seeing this. It happened a couple of times against New Zealand. They got the top order for about 100. Suddenly, Blundell and Mitchell posed a counter-attack. Is there something that we're seeing as a pattern of concern for England's bowlers? Does it tell us anything?
Well, look, that's been a common theme this summer, that getting a side 5 down quite quickly and then struggling to get that 6th or 7th wicket. There's been big partnerships throughout the summer. I think during this new era of McCullum and Stokes, it's the first time I've really seen England stressed. New Zealand have played well against England, but in that period where JADEJA and PANT were going, it's the first time they've just looked a little bit ragged, which is fine. It happens when someone's on top of you, but probably stresses those points again we made earlier about the bowling attack, that Stokes is going to have to bowl more, because if you don't bowl, you can't just come on and expect to hit your rhythm. You can't expect just to come on and keep your foot behind the line. And that was glaringly obvious. There was an issue there. He didn't want to go back to his big two too much with a new ball coming round. So it was quite a difficult moment for him. And Leach at the same time was going at close to 8 or 9 over. So there's some lessons to be learnt there, and I'm sure they will.
Wasim, your assessments of England's bowling, especially in that last session?
I mean, at the tea time, I thought, if India is still batting, by the end of day's play, I think it would be India's day. And that's exactly what happened. If Leach doesn't give you control, and if Stokes is not bowling, Raunak, then it puts a lot of pressure. And Potts as well. He's very new to Test cricket. He's going it at more than 5 and over. Then it puts a lot of pressure on those two great bowlers. They struggled. They did look stressed. Like Ashley said, the similar thing happened against New Zealand, but they didn't go, at the run rate which RISHABH Pant is batting and JADEJA. They can take their time. They can bowl that, traditional line and length. Daryl Mitchell and Tom Blundell didn't hurt them, through the run rate. So I think, they did look stressed out with this partnership, and spinners not giving them any control, Stokes not bowling, that is going to be a worry for them.
All right. Now, we've spoken a lot about RISHABH Pant, but we keep saying partnership. So let's move our attention to Ravindra Jadeja, who just continues to be this vastly improved test batter that we've seen over the years, Wasim. And this is where we all try and say, can India play Ashwin ahead of him? Can they play both spinners? It's fair to say that Jadeja's batting now has just seen him command a place in the test team. Another vital innings.
Absolutely. I mean, we have spoke on the show that 98 for 5, 1 or 2 wickets there, and we could get India all out for 180, 200. So that was such a vital partnership. Could be, going forward, could be the decisive partnership in the game. A lot of cricket needs to be played, but I think that partnership is a brilliant one. And Jadeja, I mean, just coming back after a big break, and then playing that kind of a knock under pressure. He's done it quite a few times. And I think it worked out really well for India, because India will be bowling second and probably fourth in this test. Pitch might come into play when he bowls on the fourth innings. So, India will be happy, the way the first day has gone for them.
I wonder, Ashley, if you put yourself in Jadeja's shoes today, whether it's even harder to resist temptation when you see Pant doing what Pant is doing at the other end, and you think, gee, I can play these shots. I play all formats. I've got it in me. And yet you somehow just resist temptation. Does that make this innings more special?
Yeah, it does. And I think I know it's difficult to say this, but he's played almost as equally as an important part as Pant, because someone had to be that anchor with Pant to allow him to play that way. And I think, again, for the reputation these two have, it's important to stress how well they played when they first came in. Yes, they countered a bit and they got quite a good start, but it would have been easy for them to come in and just have a swing, get out, get to 150 all out, and then have a bowl. But they didn't do that. They set themselves up for batting long, batting big, and getting themselves into a really strong position, which was, it's really impressive from both of them.
I guess this is also, personally, you think, an important little innings for Ravindra Jadeja, Wasim, he's not been part of any of the international cricket after the IPL, and we know in what manner the IPL ended for him. Poor form, all the nonsense with the CSK captaincy, or rather what went down with the CSK captaincy. So you think this is an important innings to just bring Jadeja center to what he's best at? You with me, Wasim? I think I've just lost Wasim for a second. Are you with me,
I
Wasim?
can't hear you. So sorry,
Yeah, all right.
Raunak, can you come
Are you
again?
with me now? Yeah, sure. I'm just saying
Yeah.
important innings to tell us a little bit about Jadeja, the player temperamentally too. He's not played international cricket after the IPL. We know he didn't have the best of IPLs, everything that went down with the captaincy too. So this tells us something about Jadeja, the player.
Yeah, I think so. I think he didn't had a great IPL, and a lot of things happened in that CSK camp, and then he gave the captainship. I think it was very very vital for him to hit the ground running. He's played some really important knocks in all formats. Leave alone Test cricket, in T20 as well. They consider him somebody who can go in at 5 and 6 and then change the game, and he's done that. And I think with all what happened, couple of months back, I think it was important for him to come good. And he's done that quite a few times recently. So really happy for him for what happened at CSK, and for him to come good, especially in this test match from India's perspective, is very very important.
It's not over yet. He's 83, not out, more importantly. So 338 is where India finish. Ashley, the next time we chat will be at lunch on day 2. What are we expecting on the second day? There's a bit of weather around in the forecast. Are India already in an advantageous position, being where they are and being where they were? Or is this not really safe zone yet for India?
It's certainly not safe zone. It will be interesting to see what conditions are like in the morning. There's a little bit of rain around again, I think. But I think what I'd like to see is Jadeja just start building again and try and create partnership with Shami as much as he can. That won't be easy, and he'll have to manipulate the strike a bit. But he's got a great chance of getting to 100. And the more runs you build now, the more pressure you put on that England batting lineup when they go in. So an interesting first session coming up.
Wasim, would you still say advantage India at the end of day 1? What sort of approach would you like to see them in day 2?
Oh yeah, definitely advantage is with India. Definitely, I think they take most sessions, going into that first day. But yeah, I think Jadeja playing in the first hour probably is very very crucial. If he bats the first hour, then India could look to get 360, 375. If he gets out, then I don't see them getting many runs, because all the bowlers are coming now. So yeah, Jadeja batting for the first hour is very very crucial.
All right. Before we wrap things up, I'd love for Ashley to just weigh in on whether Joe Root should rate himself more as a bowler. Now he's got Ben Stokes to handle him, but we know that he doesn't really fancy himself. He was quite humble after his 5-wicket haul on what was slightly turning wicket in Ahmedabad too. But he was the man to finally break it. If Pant was not out at Stumps, who knows what the score would have been, Ashley?
Yeah, it was a brave bit of bowling, wasn't it? He just chucked it up a bit wider and a bit slower with the field up and said, go on, if you want to get 150 with a boundary, with a big shot, go for it. Look, Joe's just that bloke, isn't it? He's got a magic arm. He seems to be good at anything he throws his hand to. So, yeah, you hate him really, don't you? You hate him for being so good.
Yeah. Wasim, sometimes it's that kind of bowler that ends the 146 innings. You've seen of Anderson dominated Potts and Broad and Leach, and in comes Joe Root.
Yeah, he does that quite often. I mean, like Ashley said, he's broken a lot of partnerships. Yeah, sometimes when you take those kind of bowlers for granted, and yeah, he's chipping with some important wickets, and that was a crucial blow. If Pant would have batted till the end, it could have been easily 350, 360 or even more.
All right. We will see how close to 350, 360 or even more India managed to get as we pick up the chat at lunchtime with Ashley Giles. Wasim Jaffer, I think, is going to drive his way to the ground, but we will see him at some point on day 2. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and your thoughts. More from you on ESPN Cricket for Match Day on day 2. Fascinating day of Test cricket, a morning session that belonged to England. You could say even halfway through the second session after rain break, it was all England. And then Rishabh Pant gave us a Rishabh Pant special, supported well and truly by Ravindra Jadeja. We'll see where things go on day 2 of what's already turning out to be a fantastic test match to watch.